the flower that invented modern capitalism. How Tulip Mania created the modern global economy. In the winter of 1637, a single tulip bulb in the Netherlands could cost more than a luxurious house. Not a field of flowers, not a ship full of gold, one bulb. To modern readers, this sounds completely absurd, like paying millions of dollars for a JPEG of a monkey. But the famous Dutch Tulip Mania was far more than a strange story about people losing their minds over gardening. Hidden beneath the colorful petals was the birth of the modern financial world. The tulip craze helped shape futures trading, speculation, luxury branding, and even the idea that ordinary people could become rich through investment instead of labor. Long before Wall Street, cryptocurrency, or meme stocks, there was a flower from the Ottoman Empire, quietly teaching humanity how to gamble on the future. And strangely enough, the flower was sick. Part 1. The Flower from Empires. Ottoman luxury and the arrival of the tulip. The tulip did not begin in Holland. It originally grew wild across Central Asia and the mountains near modern Turkey and Iran. The Ottoman Empire adored tulips. Sultans planted enormous tulip gardens, poets wrote about them, and nobles wore tulips on their turbans during festivals. In Ottoman culture, the flower symbolized elegance, paradise, and power. European diplomats visiting Constantinople became fascinated by these strange flowers. In the 1500s, ambassadors carried bulbs westward into Europe. One diplomat, Ogier de Busbecq, helped introduce tulips to European courts. After encountering them in the Ottoman Empire, soon tulips appeared in Vienna, Antwerp, and Amsterdam. The timing was perfect. The Dutch Republic was entering its golden age. Dutch ships crossed oceans carrying spices, silk, porcelain, and silver. Amsterdam merchants were becoming unbelievably wealthy through global trade. The tulip arrived not simply as a flower, but as a luxury import from a glamorous foreign empire, and Europeans absolutely lost their minds over it. Part 2. The flower that was secretly dying. The biological mystery behind the most valuable tulips. The most expensive tulips in history were infected with a virus. Nobody knew this at the time. Certain tulips displayed spectacular streaks of red, purple, and white that looked as though flames had been painted onto the petals by hand. These broken tulips became wildly fashionable among wealthy collectors. The most famous of all was the Semper Augustus, a white tulip marked with crimson streaks. At the height of the craze, one bulb reportedly sold for thousands of guilders, enough to buy a grand Amsterdam canal house. Modern science later discovered the truth. The dramatic patterns came from the tulip-breaking virus, which disrupted the flower's pigmentation. But the virus also weakened the tulip itself. Healthy bulbs could reproduce easily by creating smaller offset bulbs. Broken tulips struggled to reproduce and often died younger. In other words, the very thing that made the flower beautiful also made it fragile and rare. The flower's beauty was literally killing it. That created a perfect storm for speculation. Unlike gold or silver, tulips were living things. They could mutate, weaken, disappear, or fail to bloom. Buyers were not simply purchasing flowers. They were chasing rarity itself. 400 years later, luxury markets still work the same way. Rare sneakers, limited edition watches, designer handbags, cryptocurrency, and even social media fame all become more valuable the harder they are to obtain. Humanity has not changed very much since 1637. Part 3. The invention of invisible money. Wind trade and the birth of futures markets. At first, tulips were bought and sold like ordinary goods. Then people stopped trading flowers. Instead, they began trading promises. Tulips only bloom during certain months of the year, and bulbs can only be removed from the ground during harvesting season. To keep trading year-round, Dutch merchants created contracts promising future delivery of bulbs. This changed economic history forever. For perhaps the first time, large numbers of people were buying things they would never physically touch. The Dutch called this system wind-handle wind trade, which was honestly a very polite 17th century way of saying, "We are all trading imaginary flowers right now." Most deals happened inside taverns. Traders exchanged contracts, paid small fees, drank heavily, and repeatedly resold agreements before any bulb ever appeared. The legal system had no idea what to do. Were these contracts real commerce or simply gambling? Dutch courts struggled to classify them. After the crash, authorities eventually allowed many traders to settle their contracts for only about 3.5% of the original price instead of paying the full amount. In modern terms, it was essentially a massive debt forgiveness program. That decision helped prevent the tulip collapse from destroying the broader Dutch economy. But the crisis accidentally helped create modern finance. Today's futures markets, used for oil, wheat, currencies, and stocks, operate on the same principle. First explored during Tulip Mania, people often trade expectations more than physical objects. The tulip market was the moment money began floating free from reality, which, depending on your opinion of modern economics, may explain quite a lot. Part 4. The first social media craze. Taverns, rumors, and the birth of FOMO. Tulip Mania spread through conversation. The trade happened in informal tavern clubs called colleges, where merchants, craftsmen, brewers, and traders gathered nightly to discuss prices and rare bulbs. The atmosphere sounded surprisingly modern. Rumors spread quickly, people bragged about profits, and everyone claimed to know which tulip would go to the moon. 4 centuries before Reddit and Discord investment groups, Dutch taverns were already producing the same emotional chaos. And then came the most dangerous force in economics: FOMO, the fear of missing out. A craftsman would hear that his neighbor doubled his money on tulips. A baker would learn that a rare bulb had tripled in value in another city. Suddenly, everyone feared being left behind while somebody else became rich. Tulips stopped being flowers. They became status symbols. Owning a rare bulb meant you belonged to an elite world of taste, sophistication, and wealth. People wanted social recognition as much as financial profit. And unlike earlier financial systems controlled mostly by nobles, the Dutch Republic had something new: a large middle class with disposable income. For perhaps the first time in history, ordinary people could try to speculate their way into wealth. Part 5. When the common man entered the market. The astonishing prices of Tulip Mania. The numbers became unbelievable. At the height of the craze, a single Semper Augustus bulb could cost around 5,500 guilders. By comparison, a skilled craftsman might earn only 250 to 350 guilders in an entire year. A fat ox cost roughly 120 guilders, while a full ton of butter sold for about 100. A single flower bulb could therefore cost more than 20 years of skilled labor. That sounds ridiculous because it was ridiculous. But Tulip Mania revealed something new about capitalism. People no longer believed wealth had to come only from land, inheritance, or hard work. Maybe wealth could come from prediction. Maybe it could come from speculation. Maybe it could come from buying something today and convincing somebody else it would be worth more tomorrow. That idea still powers financial markets today. Part 6. The crash. The day the buyers disappeared. Then suddenly the market stopped. In February 1637, buyers failed to appear at a tulip auction in Haarlem. Prices began falling rapidly, and panic spread almost overnight. People who had promised fortunes for bulbs suddenly wanted nothing to do with them. The world's first famous speculative bubble had burst. Stories spread everywhere. One famous tale claimed that a sailor accidentally ate a valuable tulip bulb because he thought it was an onion. According to the story, furious merchants dragged him into court. To be fair, tulips apparently taste terrible, so this may have been the most expensive bad lunch in European history. But modern historians now believe the disaster was probably exaggerated. The Dutch economy remained surprisingly strong afterward, and many contracts were never fully enforced. So why did the story become legendary? Because the Dutch Calvinist Church transformed Tulip Mania into a moral lesson. Pamphlets and paintings mocked tulip traders as fools corrupted by greed and vanity. Satirical art showed monkeys trading tulips while society collapsed around them. In other words, Tulip Mania became bigger than the market itself. It became a myth. Part 7. The modern world still lives in the shadow of the tulip. From tulips to Bitcoin. Tulip Mania never truly disappeared. Its emotional pattern keeps returning: excitement, social pressure, rising prices, fear of missing out, and finally collapse. The South Sea bubble, the 1929 stock market crash, the dot-com boom, housing bubbles, cryptocurrency frenzies, meme stocks. The technology changes. Human psychology does not. But the deeper legacy of Tulip Mania is not greed. It is abstraction. Modern civilization increasingly runs on the gap between intrinsic value and perceived value. A tulip bulb, a luxury handbag, a cryptocurrency token, or a company stock may possess some real usefulness, but markets often price them according to emotion, status, scarcity, and collective belief rather than practical utility alone. Brands, stocks, luxury goods, digital currencies, online fame, and intellectual property all operate partly on this principle. Their value exists because millions of people collectively agree that it exists. 400 years ago, tulips helped humanity discover something strange and powerful. Belief itself could become an economy. And somewhere beneath every modern market bubble, there is still the shadow of a flower from an Ottoman garden. Fragile, beautiful, slightly irrational, and worth whatever people dream it might become.
It's time to study new words in context. 1. JPEG. Definition: a type of computer image file used for photos and pictures online. It makes image files smaller so they are easier to share. Example: she saved the family photo as a JPEG file on her computer. 2. Cryptocurrency. Definition: digital money that exists only on the internet and is not controlled by a bank or government. Example: some people buy cryptocurrency hoping its value will increase. 3. Meme. Definition: a funny picture, video, or idea that spreads quickly on the internet. Example: the cat meme became popular on social media. 4. Craze. Definition: a short period when many people become very excited about something. Example: there was a huge craze for collecting trading cards. 5. Pigmentation. Definition: the natural color of something, especially skin, flowers, or plants. Example: the bird's bright pigmentation made it easy to see. 6. Offset. Definition: a small new bulb or shoot that grows from a parent plant. Example: the gardener planted the tulip offsets in another part of the garden. 7. Mutate. Definition: to change naturally in form or structure. Example: some viruses can mutate over time. 8. Futures markets. Definition: markets where people buy and sell agreements for goods that will be delivered in the future. Example: farmers often use futures markets to sell crops before harvest season. 9. FOMO. Definition: short for fear of missing out, meaning the worry that others are enjoying or gaining something you are not. Example: his FOMO made him buy the popular shoes immediately. 10. Reddit. Definition: a large website where people share news, opinions, pictures, and discussions in online groups. Example: she read movie reviews on Reddit before watching the film. 11. Discord. Definition: an online app where people chat by text, voice, or video in groups. Example: the gaming club uses Discord to talk during matches. 12. Sophistication. Definition: the quality of being intelligent, cultured, or stylish. Example: the hotel's design showed elegance and sophistication. 13. Satirical. Definition: using humor or exaggeration to criticize people or society. Example: the cartoon was satirical because it mocked greedy businessmen. 14. The South Sea bubble. Definition: a famous financial disaster in England in the 1700s. when stock prices rose too high and then suddenly crashed. Example, historians often compare Tulip Mania to the South Sea Bubble. 15. The dot-com boom. Definition: a time in the late 1990s, when internet companies became extremely popular and valuable very quickly. Example, many technology companies grew rapidly during the dot-com boom. 16. Frenzies. Definition: times of wild excitement when people act in a rushed or uncontrolled way. Example, shoppers rushed into stores during the holiday shopping frenzy. 17. Meme stocks. Definition: company stocks that become popular online because many internet users suddenly buy them together. Example, some young investors made money from meme stocks. 18. Abstraction. Definition: an idea that exists more in thought than as a physical object. Example, money itself is a form of abstraction because paper bills have value only if people believe in them. 19. Intrinsic value. Definition: the real or basic value of something, based on what it truly is or does. Example, gold has intrinsic value because it can be used in jewelry and technology. 20. Perceived value. Definition: the value people believe something has, even if its real usefulness is small. Example, designer brands often have high perceived value because people see them as symbols of status.
Comprehension questions. 1. What was Tulip Mania? Answer: Tulip Mania was a period in the Netherlands during the 1600s, when tulip bulbs became extremely expensive, because many people wanted to buy and trade them. 2. Where did tulips originally come from? Answer: tulips originally came from Central Asia and the Ottoman Empire, before they spread to Europe. 3. Why were tulips considered special in Europe? Answer: Europeans admired tulips because of their bright colors, unusual shapes, and rare patterns. 4. What was the tulip-breaking virus? Answer: it was a virus that created beautiful streaks and flame-like patterns on tulip petals. 5. Why did the virus make tulips more valuable? Answer: the virus made tulips rarer because infected bulbs reproduced more slowly and were harder to grow. 6. What was the most famous tulip during Tulip Mania? Answer: the most famous tulip was the Semper Augustus, which had white petals with red streaks. 7. What does the Dutch term windhandel mean? Answer: windhandel means wind trade, or trading promises instead of actual tulip bulbs. 8. Why is Tulip Mania connected to modern capitalism? Answer: Tulip Mania helped create ideas such as futures trading, speculation, and investing based on expected future value. 9. Where did tulip traders usually meet? Answer: tulip traders often met in taverns and informal clubs called colleges. 10. What is FOMO? Answer: FOMO means fear of missing out, which is the worry that others are gaining something valuable while you are not. 11. Why did ordinary people join the tulip trade? Answer: many ordinary people hoped they could become rich quickly through speculation and trading. 12. What happened to tulip prices in 1637? Answer: tulip prices suddenly collapsed when buyers stopped appearing at auctions. 13. Why did the Dutch economy survive after the crash? Answer: the government allowed many traders to settle contracts for only a small part of the original price, reducing major financial damage. 14. How did the Dutch church react to Tulip Mania? Answer: the church used Tulip Mania as a moral lesson against greed and vanity. 15. What modern financial events are compared to Tulip Mania? Answer: people often compared Tulip Mania to cryptocurrency bubbles, meme stocks, the dot-com boom, and other market crashes. 16. What is the difference between intrinsic value and perceived value? Answer: intrinsic value is the real usefulness of something, while perceived value is the value people believe it has. 17. Why does the article compare Tulip Mania to Bitcoin and meme stocks? Answer: the article compares them because all of them involve people buying things. mainly because they believe prices will rise in the future. 18. What is one important lesson from Tulip Mania? Answer. One important lesson is that human emotions, excitement, and fear can strongly influence markets and prices.